food markets only.
Meet Susie Smart, she is so bright. On her blackboard you can write. She has a desk, she has a seat. What's your name, my darling sweet?
My name is Susie Smart.
She can talk!
She can talk, but can she add?
2 plus 2 is 4. Cat, C-A-T.
You can spell!
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how
You recite!
Press the button, she says a dozen things, complete with desk, blackboard, and seat. Susie Smart, sold at food markets only.
What's this stuff? Some cereal. It's supposed to be good for you. Did you try it? I'm not going to try it. You try it. I'm not going to try it. Let's get Mikey. Yeah. He won't eat it. He hates everything. He likes it. Hey, Mikey.
Penny, Penny, Penny.
Good afternoon, cats and kittens, pups and pooches. It's Susie Q96 with another exciting meeting of the Deadbeat Club. Still trying to clear this desk off. So, we're back to the penny rolls. I know it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it's got to be done. Hi, Jim Duncan. Hi, New Marshall. How y'all doing? We just gonna play with some pennies. What in the world? That's a funky looking mint mark. Looks like a D over something else, but I don't have that on my list, so I don't know what that is. It's a mess. That's what it is. All right, well, I go through my usual routine of pulling out the shield pennies. I always throw them back, let somebody else look for the one with the die crack on it. They're just not something that excite me. This one looks like somebody took a bite out of it. I guess that only really shows on the back side. A little funky there. But that looks like after the fact damage. Nothing of extraordinary excitement. So far in this box, there hasn't been a whole lot of extraordinary excitement. I'll show you what I have fished out so far. Hasn't been particularly groovy, but there's somebody else in my little town that is going through penny rolls now. He used to leave my pennies alone and just do quarters, but I guess he's po now, so he's doing my pennies. So anyway, we just gonna play a little bit. I needed to sit down. So let me show you what I have pulled out of this box so far. that had any intrinsic value. We got a Lincoln Life series. Let me get him turned around there. That one's not in too bad a shape. And then we got another one in the Lincoln Life series. Then we got this really weird shield penny. Thanks, New Marshall. I have to check into that. I mean, this doesn't look that strange on the back. It looks like somebody filed it down a little, but the other side of it's pretty weird. We've debated on all the different things that the face has morphed into. The date is completely gone. And let me see. I've been told it looks like a monkey or an orangutan. If you look at like this part of the face. Or I've been told it looks like an Amish lady with a prayer cap on. There's the cap. So we're not sure what they were shooting for with that, but they did file off the date is gone and all the writing off the obverse is gone. So that's kind of an oddity. And then we got this one I set aside because I needed to get a better look at the ear. I'm studying the 84s with the looking for the double ear, and this kind of has like the line there and then this another line there. So I need to put that under something and look at the double ear one a little better. And then we got some Canadians. We got a 76. And I think this is an 80 if I remember right. No, this is a 2000. And then we got the 53D Wheatie. So that's what the box has produced thus far. Interesting blend. And then there's the assorted 82s that I have thrown off in the box to look. Ooh! I didn't know that was a Wheatie because the back of it's so bad. 42. But, yeah. We just got us another Wheatie. Breakfast Dough Champions. Keep that. So there is some hope for this box. I got my 82s and 83s I've been setting aside to go through later looking for different things. And I don't normally go on Sundays, but I got some photos I've got to edit here in a little bit, and I got a video I got to edit. So I'm taking me a little sit down. And then I'll start working on that. Blink. And the other thing is later on, I want to roll a bunch of this up so it can go back to the bank tomorrow. Want to get it deposited. Let's see if we got a close AM. I've never found one, but I keep looking. So I got no wide AMs there. So I got a few rolls of pennies out here to play with. I do not like super examine pennies. I know I have a list of ones that I look for and put that in my 60s tube. I have different ones that I go back through later on. Looking for a DDO here, but that one looks pretty straight. Nothing there. 99D. Nope. So, not been doing much today. Couldn't get started this morning. My body just kind of has been running out of energy, and I think I finally figured out why. Because it just started the last 3-4 days. I was doing pretty good there for a while, and then all of a sudden I started having a real hard time getting going. And I think it has to do with a new medication that they gave me about a week and a half ago. So I'm going to call the doctor tomorrow and see if it's something that I can split in half and take half of it in the morning and half at night, and see if that makes a difference. Because, man, I get up and I make it as far as the living room, and I'll get my coffee and I'll sit down in the chair and fall asleep. And so I'm not getting things accomplished. It's what happens when you get old, I guess. And you got all these wackadoodle weird diseases. But my brother told me earlier, he said, well, maybe you should have gone down to the laundry room and got a Mountain Dew to see if that'd kick your butt into gear. So, because I had 2 different kinds of coffee, and I had tea, and I had a Coke, and I finally got kind of halfway woke up after about 4 hours. Doug Harding! Hi, Dougie. How's my favorite Dougie? Oh, I used to drink like coffee all day long, and it never kept me awake. But now I can't really do that. It causes problems with one of my ailments, but I was hitting the coffee pretty heavy today. It didn't help me a bit. It did not help me a bit. Well, we got one weeder out of that roll, so that wasn't a total loss. I'll always take those Wheaties. Yeah, I know there's a bunch of other people on Saturdays and Sundays, but my new theory is when I feel like I need to sit down and take a break, if I want to go on, I'm going on, and if nobody shows up, that's okay too. I still have a record of what I'm finding. Like one night I did that. I need to make a short out of that video because nobody was in the room at the time, and I found an Indian head. So I still have the video. I need to make something out of that, I guess. Picking out the shields. My favorite line is crappy shield, no yield. There they go. Some of them. I can go through the rolls a lot faster if I don't waste time on those. I really hate them when I'm out metal detecting because they're always chewed up. And I waste a lot of digging time for nothing. So I'm not crazy about finding them out. If I felt a little better, I'd probably actually go out and do a little detecting today. It's almost 50 degrees, and it doesn't look to be too windy, but my back is kind of bothering me, so don't think I'm going today. Got another day later in the week where the temperature's supposed to be in the 50s, and if I'm feeling better that day, I may go walk around a little bit. Ooh, 74S. We found us a S. Don't find too many S's over here in Virginia. And I packed a couple more boxes in my quest for my move to Michigan. I have this little game I play with myself to try to keep motivated. And what I do is I'll pick up a plastic bag or a box, and I'll just walk around the apartment and throw away or put in the donation box at least 10 items every day. It may be 10 little items, it may be 10 big items, it may just be paperwork. I went through a whole stack of paperwork this morning and filed some and shredded the rest. So, and then I gathered up some assorted merchandise that needs to go in my jewelry business stuff. Next Sunday, I'm going to be having another little lobby sale. I have permission from the management here to set up my stuff since I do it. I don't do it very often, mostly during the holidays, and it always looks really nice. It's not, I don't just throw a bunch of junk out there like it's a yard sale. I mean, I set up the whole display with the little Christmas trees and everything, and we have people here that can't really get out and shop, so I mean, I don't make a ton of money, but I usually make a little bit of money, and they're a lot of times buying gifts for other people in the building, so it's kind of fun. So I worked on that a little bit. Close AM, nope. Can't get what I need today. It's one of those Rolling Stones days. You can't always get what you want. See if we got the famous DDODO. Well, there must be somebody good on right now because I only got 2 people. Well, I think there's usually auctions on and on Sunday, and I used to go to the different auction channels, but as long as I am trying not to spend money till I get my move done and my new budgeting in line, I stay out of the auctions because I can't buy anything, and it's a little depressing, because I'll see stuff that I really want and it's not even that expensive, but I know I can't spend money on it right now. So I know some of the channels think I just quit going to them, but that's not the reason. It's like, A, I can't afford to spend the money, and B, it's really hard in some of the auction channels. Hi, Leanne. It's really hard for me in some of the auction channels they move so fast that it's difficult for me to keep up with what's going on in the stream just because my eyes won't focus. Well, there was nothing in that one. Double check sometimes YouTube has a terrible lag. Because I'm actually watching through StreamYard, which is what I'm broadcasting through. And so sometimes I don't realize how much of a lag is happening over on YouTube. So I will end up going over there for a minute and refreshing that page, which reminds me there's something else I need to do real quick that involves going over there. La 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 la. Oh yeah, Michael Fines is on. I used to watch him a lot. Where's my thing here? Oops, that's not what I want. I'm grabbing a link real quick. Gotta get this posted. All what's going on here? Oops. Alright. I want to post my link here that I need to get posted. See if that went through. Yeah, there we go. Knit 1, purl 2. My mom was real good at it, but not me. Not me. Come on, you goofy thing. This thing's giving me a fit. And then I'll get back to that penny. Yeah, they got these stupid, there we go, little emoji things that they come up and they're right over the little dots that I need to pin things to the top. And I had a heck of a time getting them out of the way. So now the link should be pinned. I've been trying to remember to do that stuff. Yeah. I gotta make the video this afternoon for the little race, which is going to be on Wednesday the 29th. I think I got most of my prize packages for it organized. The little race, if you were in the big race that was on $1 Million Meg's channel, there were some items that did not get in that race that got sent to me. And so the little race is to gift those out. Oh, hey, we just made a profit, guys. Look here. What I just found in the roll of pennies I just opened. We're up by 9 cents. Yeehaw. Put that up there. We'll keep that. I like profits. Profits is good. Let me get this bunch of shields out of here. So I don't got to look at them. Da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, M3 and I had a little trouble today. He's been being real good for quite a while. I don't know what set him off today, but I had left my phone lying on the bed, and I reached over to get my phone, and he bladed the daylights out of my arm. Boy, drew blood. So I don't know what his tantrum was about, but it hurt. I didn't like it. I'll tell you that right now. Did not like it. That's a nasty looking thing. Let's see if I got the wide. Even if I did, this penny's so nasty, nobody would want it. Yeah, I always wonder when I'm sitting here and there's like 6 or 7 people in here, and then suddenly I say something about a gift away, and all of a sudden there's like 15 people or something. It's interesting how quickly the list fills up when you mention something's being gifted out. Yeah, I lost a lot of viewers when I started having to cut back on gifting things out, but I have to save my money for the move because I've got to get up there and get my treatment going. So it is what it is. It's another reason I want to get all this change rolled up. I got a bunch of change sitting here of every denomination. Patty! Hi, Miss Dishrin. Thought you'd be out detectable today. If my back wasn't hurting so bad, I would be today because we actually got decent weather, or decent enough that I could get a little bit in, but maybe, I think it's Wednesday that we're supposed to have mid-50s, so I may go then. Got me a little spot I got permission to go play in, so. And it's within walking distance of my apartment, so that's even better. $82. So today we're just trying to finish clearing the desk. How's your package? It's almost Christmas. Your package is almost done. There's one thing that I still have to finish, and that's the I have more than one container that has your pennies in it, and I've got to combine them and count it up and do the math. But the other part, I've matched up the emails with the items. So I figured I'm going to go ahead and finish these pennies and see if there's any more in there that need to go your way. And then that's about all I have left to do with your thing. So it should be going out sometime this week. Finally, considering it's got stuff in it from last Christmas. Doug is the most patient person in the coin community. I will tell you that right now. He would have had every right to just throw a conniption fit at me, but he's a good boy. I like Doug. But yeah, I once I was able to clear a big long space, I printed out all the different emails from the giveaways and the auctions and everything, and that way I could match the item, put it right with that email, so I could make sure nothing was missing. Because you know how M3 gets, he likes to dump things over. And the only things that were not in there were the 2 jars with the pennies. Oh, that's cool, Patty. Yeah, the only things that weren't in there was the 2 jars with the pennies and the coin bag. And one of the jars with the pennies was in the coin bag. And I knew that. So now I just got to figure out where I set the other one. It's a much smaller jar. That's one of the reasons I'm going through all this stuff that's on my desk, is making sure that everyone's packages get sent out like December the 5th at the latest. A bling ring. 51 rings for the year. That's pretty good. I didn't get to detect much this year, but I think I found 5 or 6 rings, and 2 were sterling, and the rest of them were just bling rings. I didn't find any gold this year, but I didn't get to go out much this year. I spent so much time in the hospital, and just I just didn't, and with my car being a piece of junk, and I just really didn't get out. That's another reason I am so looking forward to my move to Michigan. Is I have see I only have one other friend here, or really 2, but only one that will actually periodically come and pick me up and take me detecting. And so I really don't have a lot of places to go that are by where I live. So, well, that's a nice 74. Oh, that move is going to be a blessing in so many ways. For one thing, I have a lot of people up there that have, you know, promised to come pick me up. And I've got a couple that are even saving a couple of permissions, sections of permissions that they have, so they can take me there when I get up there. And then I have a friend that has an 80-acre farm that has never been detected, and he wants to learn. So we'll be going there. Yeah, see, that's my thing, Patty. I like to just get out, and sometimes that's just my way of. It's kind of like yoga. My body won't let me do yoga, but it'll let me walk. Hey, Sir Benji, how you doing, baby? Oh, I gotta get a drink, folks. I'll be right back. Like I said, I'm just taking a little sit down break here, because if I don't, my feet will swell up, and that gets a little ugly. So I figured I'd do 4 rolls of pennies. I'm on roll 3. of the 4 so far. We have found one Wheatie, and that's about it out of the 2 that I've been through. Yeah, uh, AAP, they were in Lansing, and I was looking at a place near there where they were living, and then they got this land. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. They've got quite a bit of property now for folks to go and visit, and plus she and I both like doing the chalk painting furniture. So I want to try to go see them when I get up there. And Benji, I think, is still holding me a spot, holding a spot for us to go detecting in. And of course, my darling digging with Deej. I can't wait to go out with Deej. She and I have a lot of things in common too, so yeah, I know a lot of people in Michigan because I lived there for almost 7 years. So I was on my way back there when I got stuck here. So I will be so happy to get back there. Absolutely thrilled. Of course, I guess if I need uh, I'm glad I'm moving into an apartment, because if I needed to get me a washer or dryer, Benji's out of business. So, but that's okay. I'm sure they have washers and dryers where I'm moving. Uh, Picking out the shields. Don't like them, don't want them. Alright, I don't see any. Uh, yeah, Dee just she and I have so much stuff in common. Like, both of us are also into doing our family genealogy, and both of our families uh, were involved in union activities and coal mine stuff, and in kind of similar areas of the country. So we've found a lot of things in our family histories that are, even though we are not related, our families were doing the same things at about the same time in the same areas. So that's pretty neat. And another thing she does that I absolutely love, going up to the Great Lakes and hunting rocks. Yeah, she and I have a lot of things that we both like to do. And when I lived in Michigan, I did not know Deej then, and it's a darn shame because she only lived about 16 miles from me. Heck, Fleabag lived right around the corner. I'd go by Fleabag's house every day. Every day. Because I used to have a an indoor flea market booth up in Bay City, and I lived in Flushing Township. Some of you may know where that is, but I didn't like taking the interstate. I liked taking the back way. And there's this highway called M13. Well, I would take M13 and it would take me right by the flea farm. That's cool, Patty. Yeah, I used to, I don't know when you were working on yours, but back in the 90s and early 2000s, I actually worked for Ancestry.com. There are still databases up there that I compiled and transcribed. And I also worked with the U.S. GenWeb project. I was a county coordinator for about 10 different counties in 4 different states. And I was the Florida state coordinator for the GenWeb project. So I still do some paid genealogy work. I've got some clients that I've had for 15 or 20 years, and every once in a while I will hear from one of them where they have hit a brick wall and they're stuck and they want to know if I'm well enough to look some things up for them. I probably would have a little more money if I would let go of a couple of subscriptions that I have. I still have an Ancestry subscription. Oh, and I taught a class on Ancestry, one of the first online classes in genealogy that was ever done. And of course, back then, we didn't have things like Zoom or things like YouTube too much. So it was a lot more complicated I had to have my own server set up to do it. But I taught this class called Etched in Stone. And what it was teaching people how to use funeral home and cemetery records to document things in genealogy. And in some cases, they would find out that what they had been told about their relative was very different than, like my grandfather, for example. I didn't know my grandfather on my dad's side of the family. He died before I was born. Well, I had gone. You got me, Benji. But the reason I couldn't find things on my grandfather was that I had the wrong birth date. I had the birth date as it was listed on his tombstone, and it was wrong. Whoever provided the information on his marker, and I understand, when they're asking you those kind of questions and your relative has just passed away, how you could, give the wrong date. But I was looking under the wrong date, so I was not finding what I needed. And finally, I was on a vacation trip to Illinois, and I was in the town where I had been told he was born, and I knew what church his family had gone to at the time that they lived in that town. And I went over there, and they said, well, we don't have the records anymore. They're over at the library in the genealogy section. So I went back over to the library and I found his christening. In his church, it was called blessing. But I found his blessing date and realized that the birth date I had been given could not possibly be correct, because otherwise he would have been born like 4 or 5 years off of this other date. So that was one of the things that I was telling people, and I was telling people how to find old funeral home records, and that's how I found out where my great grandmother was buried, because they spent a whole pile of money on this lady's funeral, but nobody ever put up a marker for her. But I know where she's buried now, and also one of her grandsons is buried with her. But that was kind of what prompted me to try to talk them into letting me teach that class. And they said, well, we don't think that many people would sign up for it, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, let me go ahead and post that we're going to do it, but we're only going to do it if we have at least 12 people. Well, I had to teach 3 classes because I had over 50 people sign up. And I had everybody, you could download the little booklet that went with it. And it was a lot of work to do it. And I made a little bit of money, but I really enjoyed doing it. And I learned some things while I was researching it. So it was a lot of fun. And but yeah, I do still have some clients. Pickens County, Georgia. Wolf scratch. Cool. Wish I'd have known that when I lived in Georgia. I'd have gone over there. Now, what in the world? Is that just a blemish on the coin, or is that a screwed up mint mark? That's odd. Yeah, one of the things that was really cool. My great grandpa was kind of slick. He was always also pretty crazy, from what I gather. But back in the 1840s, really in the 1850s, the Mormon Church used to send missionaries over to England to try and recruit not only members, but members who had the skill to be miners, like coal miners. And they had these ships, where if you would agree to join their church and immigrate to the United States, they would pay your passage, except for a few pennies for each person in your family. So my grandpa came over first, and they originally had him working around Pittsburgh. And then other family members started coming over, and they moved over to Illinois because they did not like how they were being treated in the mines in Pennsylvania. Their whole idea was to not have to be so abused like they were in the mines in England. But anyway, my grandpa, he was willing to pay his money back until the church told them that they were going to have to participate in plural marriage. At which point my grandpa said, "Oh, no, we not. I don't believe in that." So they became part of what was called the Reorganized Mormon Church, which was basically the Mormon Church without polygamy, and moved over to Illinois because that's where that was based out of. And one thing about them, boy, they kept some of the best records. They were one of those groups that kind of judged themselves. So if somebody in the church got in some kind of trouble, they'd have this little meeting every month where all the elders and stuff would sit down. It's a little bit like the Amish in a way, but they would sit down and they would decide what the punishment was going to be for whatever your discretion was. And because of those records, I was able to figure out some of the health issues in my family, because they would write down in their brother so and so missed church because he was sick, or this was happening or that was happening. And my great grandfather, I know now where the history in my family of bipolar disorder, of course they didn't call it that back then, but I mean, I can see it in some of the stuff they wrote about my great grandfather and in some of these church records. And I have hundreds of pages of this stuff about my family that was all documented. And some of the more interesting parts were, there was a gentleman in the church that my great grandfather had seen him with a very, very young girl and was convinced that this guy was practicing polygamy. They had moved this young girl into their home, and they said she was a servant and yada yada. But my great grandpa wasn't buying into that. He and this man were constantly at each other, and I guess one day my great grandpa lost it. He was just so tired of arguing, and this guy had said something to him on the way into church that he didn't like. And so he starts chasing this man down the middle of the street in Kewanee, Illinois, and he's throwing rocks at him, and he's calling him a skunk and an SOB. As this is Sunday morning on the way into church. So it all got documented, and they had to decide, what are we going to do with Brother Martin, because he's not acting right. Well, the only problem, just about everybody in that church was related to each other in some way, shape, or form. And most of the men worked in a coal mine that my great grandfather owned. So they're supposed to sit judgment on him. And they know if they suspend him from church, or they take his Sunday school teaching position or his elder position away, that they're probably not going to have a job at the coal mine anymore. So this judgment of William Martin goes on in these church records for years. And they keep tabling it, saying, well, we need to do more research. We'll bring it back up later. And of course, nobody is going to stand up to this man because they're afraid they're going to lose their jobs. And I get that because from what I was reading, he had a hair trigger temper, and they probably would have lost their jobs. And so yeah, it went on for a long, long time, and finally, how it ended up getting settled was by that time the young girl involved had become an adult, and she came to the church and told them that Brother Martin was telling the truth and that she had actually become a sister wife for this guy and that he had actually was married to 3 or 4 people. So that was kind of how they ended it, but it went on for a long time. And it's so fun to read this stuff. I mean, you couldn't put this stuff, make it up and put it in a movie. Some of it was so funny. I guess another time, one of his sons got mad at somebody and chased him into the church with a gun and fired off a couple rounds. He ended up becoming a priest, which I really thought was funny. But yeah, I run into some real interesting stuff doing genealogy. I've run into some of the saddest stories and some of the funniest stories and some of the most complicated relationships. But because I do still have a couple of clients, um, like I said before, Benji said he could have more money if he'd stop spending it. I could have more money if I didn't have to keep these 2 subscriptions. But I get 1 hour's worth of work from one of these people, and it's more than paid for both of the subscriptions. So I keep them. I haven't updated my own for quite a while, and I am planning to do that because once I get them updated, I am going to make copies. That my families are so huge, and everybody kind of wants these books that I made. And these are books that have the original documents going back in my mom's family, going back into the 1400s. And I don't want any one person having control of them because I spent decades working on them. So my plan is I'm going to, once I've got the report parts updated, I am going to make copies of each of the books, and then the originals are getting donated to institutions in the area where those 2 families primarily were settled, where anybody can go in and look at them, but not one individual in the family will be controlling them. I'm just not going to allow one branch of the family to take control of that research. Um, my dad's family's stuff will end up in Illinois, and my mom's will end up in Iowa, and they will end up where you can go in and you can sign them out, and you can look at them, and you can make copies of the documents. But like this one, the one in Iowa, I have done much research in that facility, and in order just to even touch any of the books in their special collections, you have to put up you got to give them your driver's license and another form of ID, and they hold it until you bring the book back up to the desk. So unless you want to leave without your driver's license and your credit card, the only way you get to look at it, you can look at any of it and you can make copies or have them make you copies. But I just don't want a big bunch of people fighting over those books. I took them to a family reunion one time, to my dad's family reunion, and I figured it would be the women that would be interested in flipping through them and looking at the pictures and looking at the documents, and it wasn't. It was mostly my male uncles and cousins. I have this one picture where they've got the books, and it's like all guys, and they were kind of arguing over, like, okay, you've had them long enough, pass them on, because it's a big family. My dad, there was 11 kids in it, and there was 15 in my mom's. So there's like a whole bunch of books just in their direct lines, and then, but yeah, they need to be updated because there's a lot more information available now than there was when I quit working on them, which was about 2014, 2015. So, but yeah, I supported myself doing genealogy for many years. I worked from home before there was such a thing as working from home. And now I still do research for people, but I mostly just now, instead of like doing whole family trees, I I'm reading what Doug has to say. Yeah, I've got one of those from the President of the United States that my dad got, the where they sent it like a condolence thing. It's really cool. But now I mostly don't do like whole family trees. I mostly will do, if somebody's gotten to a point where they're stuck, or they, like not too long ago, I started getting a bunch of requests for me to look up the 1950 census, because they only released that a couple years ago. Every 10 years, they release the another 10 years worth. And this is really the first one that has had a lot of people that are still alive on it. And so I've had a lot of people pay me to look up the 1950 census and get them a printout of that so that they can update. Like, this is the first one that my brother and sister are on. I'm not on it because I wasn't born yet, but yeah, a lot of my older friends are on it. And so I got a lot of orders for that, and I always get orders. I have subscriptions to old newspapers, which I use for music, research, and to find obituaries for people and marriage announcements and that kind of stuff. So I kind of have to keep those. But like I said, I get enough work from them that they pay for themselves, even if I'm not using them that often. Oddly enough, I've been using them. I'm selling some of my 45 records, and I've been using the newspaper thing to uh, try to identify unusual stories about some of these bands, because it makes it easier for me to sell if I've got something. Like, there was this one local band out of Orlando, and I sold a copy of their very rare record for a couple $100. Well, I knew these guys, and I knew there was like always advertisements and stuff in the newspaper about where they were playing and so forth. So I got on the newspaper and I just printed one of them out, and I actually put it in the package with the record. And the guy just thought that was so cool. He went back to my little record store online, and he ended up buying 2, 3 more records because I had included a little background info on the band out of the newspaper. So I make those things pay for themselves. Yeah, this is the last roll. I opened one more, so I would have 5. And nope, actually, I'm on number 4. Number 5 sitting over there. I'm not seeing much in here. Looking for the wide AM. Nope. Nothing wide there except the gap between a penny and real money. La 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 la. Like I said, after this, I've got to make a video, if I can get my video software working. I'm still having a problem getting stuff transferred from one computer to the other, because we don't have much here. Yeah, I mean, like, we don't have any place really. There's one computer repair place, and they're backed up for months because they're the only one, and it's an independent. So I'm kind of stuck, and we don't have anything like Staples or Best Buy or anything like that here. It's like yesterday, someone sent me a suggestion that it might be easier if I, instead of renting a U-Haul, if I rented a pod. And then we pulled it up there, and I said, well, there's a couple things wrong with that. Number one, we got to have the way to tow Sir Benji's van back behind us, but we don't even have a place here that has pods, and they cost more than renting the truck. It's like I have people tell me all the time, if I want to go detecting at the local park, why don't I just take an Uber down there? We don't have Uber. We don't have Lyft. We don't have a taxi. We got pretty much nothing. Another reason I hate living here. I know the area I'm going to. I can get on the transit. I can get about anywhere I want to go. So I'm afraid I put the video software on my new computer, but I couldn't transfer. I can't get my other one to fire up, so I can't transfer my artwork and that sort of stuff. So who knows what this video I'm going to make is going to look like, but it's going to take me a while to download new artwork and stuff, or it's just going to be a real simple video. But I have a good place up in Michigan, and he's still in business, so I have a good place to take my computer and get it fixed up there. So, and he doesn't charge me that $45 bench fee, which is basically, okay, if you sit it on the counter, that's $45. And we haven't even looked at it yet. So, 60/40. 94. Alright, last roll. Last roll. I was reading that thing from Doug again. Yeah, my ex-husband, I did his genealogy, and he had some real interesting stuff in his. Some that made him happy and some that didn't. But turned out he was related to Lady Diana. And so he liked that part. But then he found out he was related to George Bush, and he didn't like that part so much. But he had in his family tree some people that clearly had a sense of humor, that lived up in Connecticut in the pre-revolutionary and early Revolutionary War days. And one of them was a preacher, and I can't remember what his first name was right off the top of my head, because I've tried real hard to forget most everything about my ex-husband and his family. But one of the funniest names was this preacher had named his son, who also became a preacher. The guy's name was Kneel and Pray. Think on that one for a minute. Kneel and Pray. Yep. So I guess that was a preacher with a sense of humor. Wanted his offspring to kneel and pray. And then I have my favorite in my mom's family. And I used this. I used to go do speaking engagements at different genealogical societies down in Florida back in the day. And I would start out, I knew if I could get them laughing or get something out to get their attention, that the presentation would go a lot easier. So I would start telling them about my mom's brothers and sisters. And my mom had a sister who married a gentleman. Anyway, her sister was my aunt. And she married this gentleman whose last name was Uncle. And they had 5 kids. So I had an aunt uncle, an uncle, and 5 cousin uncles. And that would get them every time. Eh, my uncle is still alive. He's 96, 97. And I'm in touch with some of my uncle cousins. But I like top that one, folks. I got an aunt uncle, an uncle, and 5 cousin uncles. Yep, pretty good. And like I said, people at the genealogical societies all thought that was quite funny. And then I offended some ladies down in Tampa one day because they wanted to know why I had not joined the Daughters of the American Revolution because I am qualified to. And my reasoning was pretty simple, and that is that they would not allow, at that time, this rule has since been rescinded, but at the time, they would not allow anybody with any even remote possibility of having Native American or Black descendant in their line. And it wasn't that I did, although there are a couple of Native Americans in the looser edge of my lines. But I just thought it was morally and ethically wrong, so I wouldn't join their little club. And they got mad at me. So, till you find snotty ladies at the University of Tampa. But anyway, I had a good time doing it, and I'm still interested in it, and I still watch a lot of genealogy stuff. And whenever Digging with Deej is reading her like letters from her ancestors that were miners or were traveling to different places, I'm even if you don't see me in there, I'm lurking in the background. I watch all of her videos on that. So I actually have a genealogy channel reserved on YouTube. I just haven't put any content on it yet. Need to do that. But it's a lot of these things are stuff that I will be able to attend to once I get my new computer set up, when I get to the get up to Michigan. Right now I barely have this one functioning, but well, I do not see any Wheaties in here, in the few that are left. A bunch more shields. Get them out. And then after this, I'm going to go. I just had to make a box out of 2 boxes. Getting stuff packed up. After the first of the month, I got to go try and sell another expensive record. That's how I'm paying for renting vehicles, which I have to do to clear things out of the storage unit and haul things away from the apartment. So about once a month, I get one, go get a SUV and get a bunch of stuff out. Which I'm sure Sir Benji will be greatly appreciative of. If I felt a little better, our weather is decent today. So if I felt a little better, I would probably go out. But because of all of this stuff I've been moving around and packing and stuff, my back has been bothering me. And the fact that I was supposed to go have a heart procedure done last week, and the medical transit never showed up. So I'm trying not to overexert until I can get rescheduled and get everything checked out and all that. So, well, we went through some more rolls and we found a dime in there and one Wheatie, I think, and that really shiny 74, I think it was, yeah. Turkey stuffing cranberry sandwich. Well, I had my leftovers last night. I'm probably going to have chicken wings tonight. I had salmon for lunch. But, yeah, they had a church brought us some dinners. And I'm really glad that I had things in my freezer because I ended up throwing almost that whole dinner away, and I felt bad, but I don't know who gave them the brilliant idea of making instant mashed potatoes with water. But that's what the instant mashed potatoes that were in it were made with water, and they were horrible. The cranberries were okay. The dressing had some weird spice in it that I could not figure out what in the world it was, but it did not taste like any dressing I have ever had in my life. It was bad. So the green beans were okay. They just needed little spice on them. Now I understand them making things bland because it's an old folks place and some people can't have stuff. But they went the opposite extreme with the dressing and it was awful. But and the gravy had that same weird spice in it, so the turkey was not good. But in my freezer, I had found at the grocery store a package with 3 small turkey legs in it. So I had some turkey drumsticks, and I made my own taters and my own green beans. I didn't have any dressing though. Oh, the pie was good. Pie was real good. But I didn't have any dressing, so I felt cheated. That's one of my favorite parts. Is I really like the dressing, but it happens. I just prefer to prep it myself, and I should have, in hindsight, just not even signed up for the dinner. But alrighty, that takes care of those. So, all right. Everybody go do something cool. I'm going to go finish making this box and figure out what I'm going to eat. And I got some pictures I got to edit, and I got a video I got to do. So I guess my night's pretty well planned. I'll catch y'all tomorrow night, 6:30 Eastern time. I'm not sure exactly what we're doing on tomorrow night, but we do have over here some couple rolls of nickels. Ow, that hurt. And let me see, what have I got here? I got 4 rolls of nickels, a roll of dimes, and a roll of quarters for tomorrow. So we'll figure something out. We'll get something done. And so on that note, y'all be good. Don't eat too many leftovers. Patty, if you go out, I hope you find something wonderful. And I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye, everybody.